The first player I'll talk about, really in alphabetical order, is Namdi. He's just kind of like Prince. He goes by one name, Nam. That's all you got to call him. And he's a tremendous wide receiver. He's about 6'2", 230 pounds. He's out of the Fort Worth, Texas area. Clay Patterson did a great job recruiting this young man. And I remember when Clay Patterson came in and said, Clay, we got to get some guys out of Texas. And he goes, Coach, Texas guys don't like to leave Texas very often. I said, well, you got to find a way to get them to leave Texas. Not only leave Texas, they got to come to Minnesota. And this young man had a lot of offers, a lot of big-time offers. He's big, right? So he's 230 pounds. This guy's very physical. He can catch the ball in traffic. He's a guy that can catch a slant, go the distance. Again, a multi-sport athlete, runs track as well. And we're lucky to have him here. And this guy's going to really add to our wide receiver core. We have some of those guys that are around the 6'1" area, the height-wise, that are long, rangy. But then we added some guys with some major length as well, which we felt like we needed to be able to have at that position as well. Our next player, M.J. Anderson, he's a defensive end from the St. Louis, Missouri area, one of the top-rated players in the state of Missouri. This young man was the Class 6A Defensive Player of the Year, right? So the highest class Player of the Year in the state of Missouri. Won the state championship in Missouri at Christian Brothers College. He's really kind of a fun fact. He's got the longest arm span, arm length of anybody in our class, and that's important when you play the D-line. One of the biggest measurements we take on the D-line is how long your wingspan is, to be able to get inside and keep those tackles at a distance instead of letting them keep inside of you. You've got to be able to keep them at a distance. You got to be able to have space. You got to be able to play people with one arm. He's incredibly strong, and we're so blessed to have him. He's got a 3.0, and father Michael and mother Venetia. I had a tremendous home visit with him, and he's a young man that went through a lot of recruiting, went through some highs, and then we had to basically get him back as well because he wanted to make sure he was making all the right decisions, and we supported him all the way through that. We're just really glad he's here. Another big, long defensive end that has incredible twitch, can play inside and can play outside. So he'll help us at the 5 technique, the position that Big O plays that you see him, Winston Labadier III as well. Our next player in alphabetical order is Solomon Brown. He's a defensive back from Largo, Florida. Largo High School. He's a mid-year enrollee. He'll be here mid-year, so you'll see him there. He's a multi-sport athlete. Had to fight off a lot of people in our own conference for this player. He's very versatile. He's a wonderful young man, very confident young man. You have to be to play in the secondary, but he gives us the versatility to play corner and safety. Not only that, he can play the money position, which you got a chance to see Chris Williamson do later in the year. That's a very important position for us because of so many teams we play that are more spread-oriented. Had over 200 tackles in his career. So we're talking about a defensive back. When you're in our system, you've got to be able to tackle, and you've got to be able to tackle well. Very, very smart young man. Excited to have him. Our next student-athlete we'll talk about is Michael Brown-Stevens. One of the fun things we had today that Garrett Chernoff kind of adds his touch to signing day. If you get a chance to ever get up there, it's fabulous. It's a lot of fun. His uncle is John Legend, and literally the John Legend. And it's kind of funny because he's Heather and I's favorite musician and an artist. And it's just weird that they just talk about him as Uncle John. We're going to Uncle John's. We're going on tour with Uncle John. My Uncle John going on tour, that's a little different than just going on tour with Uncle John. But he's the most humble young man. They have one of the best families I've ever been around. They've got this really cool wall in their house they're called the Celebrity Wall. And I'm thinking, all right, head coach is going to go on the wall. This is going to be a big deal. When's my picture get up there? Listen, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama on that wall. You got John Legend, all his friends, Christy. You got everybody up there, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going on this wall. They got 3 dogs. I'm like, where's the picture of the 3 dogs? Put me on that wall. And but he's a multi-sport athlete. He's known as number 198. So when you see him, you're gonna call him, hey, you're 198, because that's the only way Coach Chirac ever remembered him from our camp circuit. He's like, the best wideout we saw was that 198 guy. And it was Michael Brown-Stevens. And he's a young man that came to camp and had to be able to come to camp in Ohio. And he had multiple offers at the time, but me and receivers, I've got to see him live. I've got to watch him. And we go down there, and he made play after play. Comes up to me and goes, Coach, just want to let you know you're going to have a show today. And usually when players come up and tell you that, you're like, okay, this kid's a little confident for me. He goes, I'm gonna run a 4.4 for you today. I'm like, not on my watch. It'll be very difficult for you to do that. I have an NFL slow watch, and he did. Not only that, he goes, I'm going to show you I'm the best player here, and I'm going to leave no doubt in your mind. And he did. And by the end of that, we did everything we could to make him a Gopher in the next coming days, and we were. And he's from Springfield, Ohio, and just got a wonderful family. Missy and Tony are tremendous parents to him, and it's a lot of fun. They've got a dog, a pit bull named Chop, and he's the biggest dog you've ever seen in your entire life. And they told me he's the nicest dog you've ever seen in your entire life, but I wasn't allowed outside, so I couldn't tell you if he was really nice or not. But he's tremendous and just a tremendous family. Really, really enjoy this young man's personality. I think you're going to love it, too, as you get to know him. Next player, I think he's the most underrated, under-the-radar player we have, that everybody talks about some other guys. This guy, we went down to a state championship game, watched it at Mercedes-Benz Stadium down in Georgia, and he was by far the best player on that football field. D'Angelo Carter, he's a nose guard for us for Leesburg, from Leesburg, Georgia. You want to talk about strength, twitch, explosion, arm length, everything. I mean, he's a nose tackle that can move side to side, and in our system, you got to be able to stunt and move. He had 4 sacks in the state championship game, a forced fumble, and he was the player of the game in the state championship, and just a dominating performance by him. A multi-sport athlete as well. He's in track and field. Just cannot wait. His tenacity and his motor is unlike any I've seen in recruiting. And I can't wait to get him here. Can't wait, because he's going to be a big part of what we do. Next, one of the more celebrated guys in our class, just from the media's perspective, from Atlanta, Georgia, Cedar Grove High School, who won a state championship as well, a mid-year enrollee, Rashad Cheney Jr., his father, Rashad Cheney's done a great job, senior, of raising this young man and putting him in the position that he is. This is, as everybody talks, this is an ESPN 300 young man. This is a guy that's been committed to some of the greatest programs in the country. And I give a lot of credit to Marcus West for continually to recruit a young man, even after he was committed, to stay on him. There's a lot of reasons why a relationship goes one way or another throughout an entire 2-year recruiting process. And Marcus West was right there. And that was the biggest difference for us getting this young man, or him going to another place that might be a top 10 program right now. And we're really excited about having him. Won a Georgia State championship, as we said. He's the highest ranked player to ever sign out of Georgia. Just beat out Bateman, and we know how good Bateman is. But this guy's got incredible explosion, get off, and incredible power. So, again, we needed guys to be able that were strong enough to get in here to help us early, and especially on the inside part of the line of scrimmage. We had to be able to have that. No questions asked. We couldn't take somebody on the inside that we said, well, they're not going to be able to play for 2 years. That was unacceptable. We needed guys that were going to be able to play right away, no matter if they were a freshman or a junior college player. And Rashad Cheney Jr. does that. He'll be here mid-year. Our next player is our quarterback. One of the quarterbacks we brought in, Jacob Clark, who's at Rockwall High School down in Texas. He originally was in Kansas City. This is a big 4-star recruit, according to 3 major publications. This guy is a gunslinger. He's not only a gunslinger, but he's got incredible intangibles. Threw for over 430 yards against one of the most prolific and one of the most historic high school programs, against Allen High School. I think it was in the first round of the playoffs or second round of the playoffs. Multi-sport athlete. He was a basketball state champion. He threw for over 6,000 yards in his high school career, over 60 touchdowns. Again, how important are camps? This is a young man that camped with us down in Oklahoma. It's not that far of a drive for him, so we were able to get down there, identify talent down in that Oklahoma City, Dallas area, down in Texas, and we needed to be able to get one of those Texas quarterbacks, and we did. High intangibles, wonderful young man, incredible family, very, very smart, and can diagnose and process things very quickly. And he's got a heck of an arm. So 6'4", 215 pounds, mid-year enrollee, will be here in January. Some of you might not have known about this young man, but we've been recruiting him for a long time. Jamal Adye, our defensive back coach, has been recruiting this young man out of Tampa, Florida, but he came to the way of us through Hutchinson Community College. Jamal Adye is from Tampa, knows everybody in Tampa. And remember, we always say we want relationships of where our coaches have been, where they've coached, where they were raised, not just an area. We want relationships. And Coach Jamal Adye has known this young man for a long time. Kelvin Clemens, the cornerback from that Tampa area. He's 6'1", 6'1.5", 205 pounds. Very physical corner, can play safety, but he is a big physical corner. And as we've kind of watched, as we've progressed, we wanted bigger corners that can be physical in our league, especially in the run game. When you go back and look at some of the issues we've had defensively, we've got to be able to play more physical and set edges and be more of linebacker-type tacklers at the corner position with a lot of people that we bring in as we move forward. He had 15 PBUs in 2018, another multi-sport athlete, a late addition to all of you that you kind of found out today. But for us, Jamal Adye has been recruiting him and known him for a very long time. He's a top 10 ranked junior college cornerback, and he'll be a mid-year enrollee as well. Very unique story. He's never visited campus. So some of you are like, how do you get a guy who's never visited campus? Technology. You use technology the best way you possibly can, and you use it the best way you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can, for as long as you possibly can. And he's seen probably more of campus than probably anybody who's been on campus. So really, really proud of his trust and commitment to us and his belief in us as well and the trust that he has in us. So Calvin Clemens, really excited to have him. Our next addition's Tyler Cooper from just across the border in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. Went to St. Croix Falls High School. This guy is a barrel-chested, big, gritty, nasty guard. When you watch his film, that's who he is. He's only about 45 minutes away from our campus, another camper. So he's 6'4", about 310 pounds. He's one of those guys you got to watch live to be able to really respect how he plays, because he plays so hard and he has incredible how and passion, and he plays the game the right way. It's not just, hey, yeah, he's this, yeah, he's this. No, he doesn't want to run the 40. No, he doesn't want to work out. No, he's not going to do it. This kid did everything we've asked him to, and we're really excited about having Tyler Cooper here, just a road grader. And I still remember meeting him for the first time. We're in my office, and his family travels all together. I mean, everybody, right? So grandpa, mom, dad, brother, and brother looks at me and he doesn't say anything, right? I mean, the little brother usually never says much in my meetings until I ask him, but they said, you want to say something? He goes, yeah. He kind of looks at me and goes, you're not my favorite head coach. And you can imagine who his favorite head coach was, which is a pretty good football coach in the college football in that state. So, but he let me know that I wasn't, but at least we were able to convince Tyler to come here. But I think I got his brother by the end, so I think he's kind of, maybe he's got two favorite head coaches by now. So maybe not. Maybe I didn't win that battle. So our next player is an awesome story. What an awesome home visit, which we'll talk about here in a second. Listen, if one of you want to make a lot of money one day, you got to invent a reality show based on recruiting home visits for 3 weeks. There you go. And I don't know who is crazy enough to actually allow you to do that, full access to everything, but it would be the biggest and craziest reality show, and you'd be just amazed at what we get to see and how much fun we actually get to have. I'm not talking about Heather Shopping and all the cities we go to, but I'm talking about the actual home visits of what we do. James Gordon from Plant City, Florida, Plant City High School. This young man is you talk about hitting, you talk about running. I mean, he can run, he can hit, he's fast. He had a lot of in-state schools on him for a long time, and to be able to stay committed. You walk into the home visit, and and they call it the man cave, and it's kind of off in this distance, and down there in Florida, it's kind of off back in the woods a little bit. And you kind of walk in there, and I've never seen more family members in my entire life. And you walk in there, and immediately here comes a head football coach from the University of Minnesota, and boom, you get hit with all other flags, memorabilia, posters, signs, colors that aren't ours. You talk about being nervous. Like, wait a second, I just walked into a trap, right? And but he was the one, and all of them are talking about those teams, and he's committed to us. And I said, like, this is amazing. This kid's got all these people talking about where he should go and what he should do, and he stuck true to where he felt he belonged. Introduced me to everybody he had. We had alligator. I don't know if any of you have had alligator before, but it's a combination between like calamari and chicken. Like, it's in the middle because texture is really important to me when I eat food, and it's in the middle of that. Then it's fried, perfectly fried, and there's the alligator. It's not like it's like, hey, we're going to hide everything. There's the alligator, pictures of the alligator. And it was a very interesting home visit, one of the best I've ever had. You talk about a young man who wants you to meet everybody in his family. He introduced me to everybody that was there, every single person. And it was really amazing to be able to see him light up, so proud to be a Minnesota Golden Gopher. He had 136 tackles on the year. 26 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 5 interceptions as a senior with 3 pick sixes. Not just picks, pick sixes. We're talking about long ones, too. One-handed ones, very athletic. Committed us during the summer splash that we have on our OV here. So you talk about what the importance of the summer official visits are. Very important. A young man from Florida committed to us in the summer here, right? And used his official visit in the summer and committed to us. So had a hard pitch from a lot of people late. He's a wonderful young man. He's got a smile that'll light up a room. So excited for him joining us here. Our next student athlete's J.J. Adye. From really central Illinois, Washington High School down there in Washington, Illinois. He's a mid-year enrollee. When we met JJ, he was about 247 pounds. And there's a lot of 270-pound, 6'6" type bodies in the country. And you've got to diagnose who can get bigger and who can't. So you look at dad, you look at mom, you look at all bone structure, you think you're really smart, and you're kind of evaluating these people. And all of a sudden we're thinking, okay, this guy's going to get really big. We didn't know he'd, in 6 months, be 307. And that's what he is. And he's done it the right way. He's big. He's strong. His home visit, again, interesting. He lives in a cul-de-sac, in a subdivision, cul-de-sac. But this cul-de-sac, in the backyard, some of you have dogs. He has horses, goats, donkeys, chickens, and ducks. We're talking about a subdivision. And we're talking about a cul-de-sac where other people live in that cul-de-sac. It was the most interesting deal. I got a chance to go out there, feed the horses. There's one horse that doesn't go anywhere without the goat. They're best friends. Wherever the horse goes, the goat's got to go. And where the goat goes, the horse follows. It's amazing. One of those, we talk about relationships and recruiting. There you go. So he was an IHSA All-State player. We're really proud of the offensive lineman we're bringing here. You know, we haven't had an offensive lineman drafted in 12 years. And we're going to change that. And we're changing that through recruiting and development. But when you talk about that, you know, he's one of the 8th highest ranked offensive linemen to ever come here. Well, some of the other ones were Curtis Dunlap Jr., Daniel Falele, right, Blaze Andrews, right? We're talking about 4 of the highest out of the top 8 in the history of our program in the internet era. However we've done that are here right now, are going to be here for this coming year and developing in this. So we need this to be offensive line U, and it deserves to be. He's a mid-year enrollee. Again, just a tremendous multi-sport athlete, basketball, baseball. Led his team to 11-1 record, one of the best records ever at the high school. Tremendous student athlete, J.J. Adye. Also, he was one that actually cooked the home visit meal, which was very interesting. And he did a tremendous job, by the way. I mean, knocked it out of the park. So he'll pass the Go for Life cooking class for sure. Next player from St. Louis, Missouri. Again, Kenny Burns really did a nice job recruiting the St. Louis area for us this year from Lutheran North High School. Coach Reed does a great job down there of helping all of us just in terms of being the recruiting coach down there as well. Devient Harris, defensive end. Not the biggest guy, but might be the most twitched guy we have in the class. He can really get off on the ball. He's got incredible speed, great pad level, can dip, can bend really well. He had 263 tackles, 67 tackles for loss, 20 sacks on the varsity. Was one of the first members committed to us of this entire class. Multi-sport athlete, again, just a wonderful get for us to increase the speed on defense of what we feel we need to be able to do and rush the passer. So D.V. Harris, really excited to have him, 6'2", 220 pounds out of St. Louis. Next up, an area young man, Minnesota native, Cole Kramer, quarterback out of Eden Prairie High School, played for the legendary Mike Grant, mid-year enrollee. You know, we had Cole Kramer in camp. When you came to one of our camps and you saw these, you know, highly ranked guys, a lot of offers, and you kind of threw them in the mix with all those guys, by the time you got out of there, you wouldn't know who had the offers, who had the stars, because Cole Kramer was right in there with everybody else. I know he's in a kind of a run-first type offense. This young man didn't throw an interception until his senior year. He is a 4.5 40 young man. He can really fly. He's tough. He's got a really good arm. He's incredibly intelligent, and he's a football guy coming from a very historic football program in the state of Minnesota. He's first cousins with Carter Coughlin, and obviously his grandfather was the former Gopher Tom Moe, which a lot of you know who he is. And he was our first commit of the 2019 class around this time, right now, last year, to get this thing going, him and Jason Williamson. But he won a state championship as a junior, as a starting quarterback at Eden Prairie. So, again, getting our local talent to be here, very, very important. Congratulations to Cole Kramer for being with us. Next up, our kicker, Michael Lance. Obviously, with Emmett Carpenter moving on, we needed to be able to replace that. and I'm one to go after the best we can possibly get. And no hold back. Just let the guy, get the guy, the best guy we can, be able to have him kick as a freshman and go from there. And Michael Lance has the ability to do that. He's from Stars Mill High School down there in Georgia. He was offered back in January. We had him really ranked at the beginning, really, as our number one kicker. And then as we went through, he wanted to wait. And then obviously you've got to move on at some particular time. Coach Wanger went down to see him right after the 2017 season. He's a 5-star kicker by Cole's Kicking Camp, one of the best in the country. It was a perfect 45 of 45 in PATs, had 25 field goals made in high school. This is one of the things when we sat there and talked, even in the summer when he visited, that is just meant to be. And you kind of have people put you together at somehow, some way that we found our way back. However we found our way back at the end, we found our way back together, and we know it's meant to be, and we're excited to have him. He will not be here at mid-year. He will be here in June as well, and if there's one position that's okay with, I'm okay with kicker because he can kick down there in Georgia all year round. So congratulations to him and his entire family. Michael Lance out of Georgia. Our next recruit, you don't have any favors because they're all your son when you get them. This kid is a really special young man. One, because he's from an area where I'm from, literally right down the street from where I was born and raised and grown up. And he's from St. Charles, Illinois. Tyler Newbin, corner, 6'1", 190, out of St. Charles, Illinois. This tells you a little bit about this young man. They just get done. I think it's the semifinal game, and his whole team, because he led them to the state finals for the first team. He led them. He played Wildcat, played corner, he played wideout, did everything. And at the end of the game, they win, and they're chanting his name. Newbin, Newbin. The whole team's chanting his name. Well, then he steps in and said, no. SCN. And there's a whole video of it. It's really emotional because he took all the attention off of him, put it on everybody else. He's a very selfless young man to take all the attention off him, put it on somebody else, and that's the type of young man we're getting. Very, very high academia young man. His father, Rodney, played at Eastern Michigan. Mother, Charisse, is probably the best athlete out of everybody in that family, and whether Rodney agrees with that or disagrees with, that's what we know. But he's one of the best academics young men in this class. He's a 3-time academic all-conference player, all-state honoree, multi-sport athlete, one of the 25 highest-ranked commits in the history of the University of Minnesota, and he's just a wonderful young man to be here, and he's one of those guys you want to rely on this year, and he brings a lot to the table. So congratulations to Tyler Newbin and his entire family and the entire St. Charles community. Next up, another mid-year enrollee, Trey Potts from over there in the Williamsport, PA area. And I've always wanted to go to the Little League World Series. Problem with the Little League World Series is it's right during fall camp. So it's on the bucket list for Heather and I and the kids to go to one year when we're done coaching. But he lives right there. So anytime, I just wanted to get there and talk about what's Williamsport like during the Little League World Series. Well, I guess when you live in Williamsport, though, it's great. But it's just kind of like one of those things that is like, yeah, it's happens every year, Coach. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, oh, it's a huge deal. Like, show me around. Like, what do we do? Where do people go? So, but he's a multi-sport athlete. He's a young man that averaged 10 yards per carry, and he's very quick, very elusive, great receiver out of the backfield, scat back. This young man can play multiple positions, too. We're going to have some tailbacks in the backfield. He's coming back after from in-season surgery, so we're going to have him back ready to go when he gets here. Pretty much, hopefully get him through some spring ball, get him through some things he's able to do. But, we're talking about an all-purpose back that can do a lot. Really help us in the return game as well. Punt return, kick return, Williamsport High School. Again, Trey Potts, congratulations. Next up, another mid-year enrollee. A lot of you know who he is. He was part of what we had a gray shirt last year. Logan Richter over there from Perm, Minnesota. Peyton Jordahl from Perm, Minnesota as well for all of our Gopher fans. This young man is really big. And he's really strong, and I think he's gotten a lot better in his senior year. He's got great get-off, great twitch. He's really big. He's about 6'4", 315, 320 pounds right now. But I thought he moved way better as a senior than he did as a junior. And he's really worked hard at getting his body to where it needs to be. He's really worked hard at his strength and conditioning. And he'll be a mid-year enrollee that we need to be able to help on that interior side of the ball or that interior defensive part of the ball, and I know he will. Next up, another mid-year enrollee, Keontae Shad, from Madison, Wisconsin. This is from by the way of Ellsworth Community College. This was when you talk about recruiting battles, this was one of them. And I'm so thankful he signed with us. It was a long road with a lot of schools involved. When you're really the number 2 junior college ranked player in the country in terms of defensive tackles, everybody's on you. But the need to be able to play early, the location of his family being right in Madison, Wisconsin, right across the border. He had 19 and a half tackles for loss in junior college. We were his first offer and had him committed for a long time, and were able to hold on to him. And his home visit was really special because I know the axe means a lot to them. We brought the axe over there to his home, and that wasn't for any type of to show off anything. It's very important to him. He grew up around that rivalry, and for him to be able to pick us and his family and his grandma and for his, the other members of his family to be able to see that axe, that was important. It wasn't like we were holding it out the window as we drove down the road, or I was running through the streets of Madison with it. I mean, that wasn't what it was about. What it was about was being able to bring that to him. Because of where he's from and the rivalry and the wonderful rivalry we have with Wisconsin, and the respect of those two teams, what they have for each other in terms of what we have now. And really excited to get the axe back, obviously, and so was he. He was actually at that game in the stands, and that was really important for him to be able to see that moment. So we just need him to get here to hopefully experience it some more. So mid-year enrollee, Keontae Shad. Next up, another in-state talent, Peter Udoybach from Cretin-Durham High School. Obviously coached by Coach Brooks Bollinger. This is another camp young man. We needed some length and some size at the wide receiver position. 6'3", 205, 210 pounds, and he's really long. He was actually the player of the game in the Minnesota All-Star game. Did a great job, set an actual receiving record for the All-Star game here in the state of Minnesota. And another what camp means and how important camp is to be able to get eyes laid on somebody. And we're so excited he's going to be a part of us. So glad to be able to have Cretin-Durham here represented at the University of Minnesota, and a St. Paul young man here as well. Another mid-year enrollee kind of finishing out in terms of our specialist, the number 1 long snapper in the country. And, not very often you talk about long snappers when you talk about signing day, but we've had an amazing one, an elite one, for a long time in Peyton Jordahl. And a lot of you forget that that's actually a position that you have to replace because you don't hear about it very often. Brady Weeks from St. Peter's, and he's just a tremendous young man, from Fort Zumwalt High School. He's ranked the number 1 long snapper, like I said, by Cole's Kicking Camp. He's invited to the 2019 Under Armour All-American game. And last person that I had be able to have a specialist play in that game was back at Western Michigan by the name of Wyatt Pfeiffer, who got to play in another Army All-American game. And, this guy is, when you want to be able to replace your long snapper, you don't want to be wrong. He's on his official visit, stands up in front of everybody. We do these introductions and stands up. There's a guy with the microphone. He goes, "My name is Brady Weeks, and I'm the long snapper, and this should be the last time you ever hear my name. Thank you," and sits down. And he's right. Right? You don't want to hear the long snapper's name, ever. You should always wonder who the long snapper is. The third year he's there, be like, I didn't even know. Who is that kid? What's his name? Because that means he's doing his job. He's a tremendous young man, incredible family. But he had to be able to compete head-to-head with high-pressure stakes to get invited to that game because they pick specialists based on your performance. He did a great job, got picked head-to-head, a lot of pressure, and will represent the Golden Gophers in that game coming up here soon. Next up, it was the last NLI we got in today based on where he lives, from Las Vegas, Nevada, and Desert Pine High School. Cam Wylie, running back, just a big physical back, incredibly athletic. 6'2", about 200 pounds right now, and incredibly long, but very fluid, very loose hips. He's got a unique running style, very powerful young man. He's at the same high school as Jordan Howden. Who's actually part of this class when you start looking at numbers of how we were able to use those numbers with Jordan Howden. Multi-sport athlete, really a track star. This guy's numbers are through the roof in terms of athleticism, speed, agility, height and weight for a running back, but then you're talking about vertical jump and everything else. But getting a chance to go out to the Nevada area, Las Vegas, and pull some players from some really good high schools out there, especially Desert Pines, was really good for us. Another in-state talent, Jason Williamson, a mid-year enrollee. A lot of you know him. He's Mr. Football in the state of Minnesota. Anytime you get your Mr. Football in the state of Minnesota who needs and wants and has dreamed of being a Gopher, it's really, really positive. From Owatonna High School, a back-to-back state champions, 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in the state. This young man ran for over 3,000 yards just this year. just this year. That's unbelievable. Over 40 touchdowns this year. Over 80 touchdowns in 2 years. Those are unbelievable numbers. We get back, Heather and I get back, and from the Wisconsin game, we're putting on the TV, and there's really nothing on when you get back that late, and we're sitting there watching the ESPN Top 10 and just watching it. And all of a sudden, number 8, here comes Jason Williamson with his big game in the state championship, and I'm like, is that our Jason Williamson? From Owatonna, Minnesota? Yes. We rewind it, and it was really fun to watch. But multi-sport athlete, he's going to just be a great athlete, whether it's a tailback, whether it's linebacker, whether it's safety. I mean, this guy can play all over the field, and he's proven that. Went out to Cleveland, Ohio to get one of our linebackers from Garfield Heights High School, Donald Willis, 6'2", 205, 210 pounds. This guy can really run. He can block punts. He'll hit you. This guy's not afraid of any contact. He's very violent with the way he plays. Last 2 seasons, he had 235 total tackles, 51 tackles for loss, 19 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 6 defensive touchdowns, and a partridge in a pear tree. Unbelievable. All Ohio this season, multi-sport athlete, great basketball player. He led his team to an 11-1 record, which was the best record the high school has ever had. They never won 10 games. They won 11. He was the leader of the team. He committed, again, during our summer splash during the OV. So, again, very, very powerful group, very important group for us as we continue to build this program the way we want to be able to do it. Again, we have 2 to 3 left. Again, we'll also have a young man committed that will possibly sign in February. Knew that all along. Can't share that information with you as we continue to go through recruiting, but I can share that with you now. But also as we kind of get into that free agent market in January, we'll be interested in that as we kind of look at what we have as we keep moving forward and make some decisions on that.